you're new or you're returning after a time away. Please feel free to fill out one of our blue welcome cards, which you can put in the offering plate later in the service. There is an online version you'll find through the link in the chat. We strive to be a congregation that welcomes people of all ages, races, religious beliefs, backgrounds, sexual orientations, gender identities, and abilities. We belong to the Unitarian Universalist Association of Congregations, and we are guided and inspired by its values and principles. This part of the Connecticut Valley is unceded homeland of the Pecumtuck, Nonotuck, and Nipmuc peoples, and our values and principles help remind us to acknowledge our responsibility to confront the legacies of dispossession and systemic racism that are part of our history, even as we affirm the legacies that inspire us. We have drawing materials and other ways to occupy hands in tables in back. Restrooms are downstairs and are reached through one of these doors. You can either take the stairs or an elevator. Please return the same way. There will be a conversation based on the essay on fascism by Reverend Cecilia Kingman, starting around 11:15 in the parlor back there. We're here to celebrate, to reflect, and to support one another. It's good to be together. And now we'll begin our service.
Let religion be to us life and joy. Let it be to us a dissatisfaction with things that are, a voice of renewing challenge and a call to generous action. Let it be the sorrow that opens for us the way of sympathy and understanding. Let it also be the wonder and lure of that which is only partly known and partly understood.
I invite you now to rise in body or spirit for our chalice lighting. We'll then remain standing to sing the hymn, Now Let Us Sing.
You have to lead it again. Lead it.
All right. We light our chalice as a beacon of hope, a sign of our quest for truth and meaning. We light our chalice as a beacon of love in celebration of the life we share together.
Good morning. If anybody would like to come closer to see the real live book, I invite you to come up. There's some pews or the floor. The pictures will also be projected on the screen. And our story this morning is Old Turtle by Douglas Wood. And it may seem like a very old story, but it was actually written pretty recently. Once, long ago, yet somehow not so very long, when all the animals and rocks and winds and waters and trees and birds and fish when the rocks and all the beings of the world could speak and understand one another. There began an argument. It began softly at first, quiet as the first breeze that whispered, "He is a wind who is never still." Quiet as the stone that answered, "She is a great rock that never moves." Gentle as the mountain that rumbled, "God is a snowy peak high above the clouds." And the fish in the ocean that answered, "God is a swimmer in the dark blue depths of the sea." So if you haven't figured it out, there's an argument going about who is God. See if any of these descriptions feel like they're true for you. "No," said the star, "she is a twinkling and a shining far, far away." "No," replied the ant, "they are a sound and a smell and a feeling who is very, very close." "God," insisted the antelope, "is a runner, swift and free, who loves to leap and race with the wind." "She's a great tree," murmured the willow, "a part of the world, always growing and always giving." "You're wrong," argued the island. "He is separate and apart." "She is like the shining sun, far above all the things," added the blue sky. "No, he is a river who flows through the very heart of things," said the waterfall. Seems like they all have a pretty clear picture of what God is. "She's a hunter," roared the lion. "God is gentle," chirped the robin. "He is powerful," growled the bear. And the argument grew louder and louder and louder. Until... "Stop!" A new voice spoke. It rumbled loudly like thunder, and it whispered softly like butterfly sneezes. The voice seemed to come from... Any guesses? Turtle! Let's see what Turtle has to say to all these animals and islands and waterfalls. Old Turtle hardly ever said anything, and certainly never argued about God. But now Old Turtle began to speak. "God is indeed deep," she said to the fish in the sea, "and much higher than high," she said to the mountain. "He is swift and free as the wind, and still and solid as a great rock," she said to the breezes and stones. "She is the life of the world," Turtle said to the willow. "Always close by, yet beyond the farthest twinkling light," she told the ant and the star. "God is gentle and powerful, above all things and within all things." Sounds like everybody was right. I like that. Old Turtle had never said so much before. All the beings of the world were surprised and became very quiet. But Old Turtle had one more thing to say. "There will soon be a new family of beings in the world," she said, "and they will be strange and wonderful. They will have a message of love." Any guesses what these new beings are? You got it, Nairi. They will come in many colors and shapes with different faces and different ways of speaking. Their thoughts will soar to the stars, but their feet will walk the earth. They will possess many powers. They will be strong yet tender. A message of love from God to the earth and a prayer from the earth back to God. And the people came. There they are. So many different people. The people came, but after a while, they forgot that they were coming with a message of love. And they began to argue about who knew God and who did not, and where God was and was not, and whether God was or was not. And often the people misused their powers and hurt one another, and they hurt the earth. Wonder who says this. Please stop. They heard that soft growling like thunder, a voice like butterfly sneezes. Let's see what Turtle has to say this time. The voice seemed to come from the mountain who rumbled. Sometimes I see God swimming in the dark blue depths of the sea, and from the ocean who sighed, God is often among the snow-capped peaks reflecting the sun. From the stone who said, I sometimes feel her breath as she blows by, and from the breeze who whispered, I feel his still presence as I dance among the rocks. And the star declared, God is very close, and the island added, God's love touches everything. So all those beings and places from the beginning are sharing their messages. And after a long, lonesome, and scary time, the people listened and began to hear and to see God in one another. And the beauty of all the earth. An old turtle smiled. And so did God. May it be so.
And now it's time for us to greet one another. We can start by saying hello to the people on Zoom. We have 46 screens today. That's a lot of screens. Hello, everyone on Zoom. And now please turn and greet your neighbor here in the hall. Hi, everyone. Good to see you. Naomi, look who's on my screen. Hi, Austin. Good to see you. Jane. Hey, Rebecca. Hi, Georgia. Hi, Janet. Who else is there? Sally Lawton. Great to see you. Hi, Steph. Kim. Thank you, Kim. Thank you, Amanda. Chris Stetson. Nice to see you. Hi, George. Good to see you. Karen, Sally, Gail and John. Emily, good to see you. My goodness. Laura Porter, good to see you. And Lucy and Kamala, Haley, Jean, Julie, Jane, Cheryl, hey Marianne, Kamala, Rich, Wendla, nice to see you. Hi Sheila, hi Joanna, hi Sharon, Allison, Linda, and Amy and Linda. Hey Britt, Susan, Nomi Dogan, welcome. Welcome, welcome everyone on Zoom. And everyone here. It's good to be together. Now it's time for everyone going to religious education to leave us, and we will sing you out. Go now in peace, go now Good morning, everybody. It's nice to see some new faces in here. I am Susie McCrae, and this is the Social Justice Minute. Hard to follow that story, and I wish we could all have that feeling that they all lived happily ever after. I think as we've all been hearing more and more about fascism lately, both from the pulpit and in the news. And we may not all be comfortable with this term fascism, but I believe that many of us are unsettled about what we see happening in this country and a little bit of not knowing what we can do about it. After the service today, we hope that you'll join us for a discussion on fascism and what we can do as individuals and a community of faith to resist it. We will also reflect on how we can take care of ourselves and each other. We had shared some articles about the topic that you could read ahead of time, but we invite anybody to come whether you've read the articles or not. And in case you can't join us, but are feeling anxiety and perhaps despair, I'd like to leave you with these words of Cecilia Kingman's. She says, "My dear ones, it is very easy to feel frightened and overwhelmed in an upward cycle of fascism. There is much hard work ahead. But there is also joy and friendship and healing on this side, right here in the struggle. I urge you to be tenacious in your spiritual practices and community care. Let us remember all those who came before us and survived far, far worse than anything we can imagine, and that we are held in the hands of love that abides." Thank you. Thank you, Susie. And I think there are snacks, yes, to go along with that conversation. Food is always a wonderful incentive. It's our custom to accept the financial generosity of those in the hall. Each Sunday, your contributions go, half of your contributions go to support works within these walls and half go to organizations outside these walls. I believe we have on the screen the organizations that we're supporting at this time. One of them that I would like to highlight again is the American Near East Refugee Fund. We had some good news a couple days ago that perhaps some aid is getting into Gaza and other places where the war is happening. And so that's one of the organizations that's right on the ground and helping. Our morning offering will now be given and very, very gratefully received. In his book, Why Religion?, Houston Smith describes a moonlit night over the desert in this way. He says, the sky held no clouds to conceal the panoply of stars ascending from the circling horizon. It was one of those totally magic nights and moments. And the hour or so afterwards may have been as close as I have ever come to the empty mind that Buddhists work toward. And Smith later found a poem by Giacomo Leopardi that for him captured that moment. The voice in the poem is that of a shepherd who is looking up and posing questions to the moon. And that poem is our meditation this morning. You might want to imagine a starlit sky, no one else around, but some sheep. And when I gaze upon you, moon, who mutely stand above the desert plains, which heaven with its far circle but confines, or often when I see you following step by step my flock and me, or when I watch the stars that shine there in the sky, musing, I say within me, wherefore those many lights, that boundless atmosphere? Wherefore that infinite calm sky? And what meaning of this solitude? And what am I? long time to get to a short reading. This is by Albert Einstein. He wrote, "The important thing is not to stop questioning. Curiosity has its own reason for existing, and one cannot help but be in awe when contemplating the mysteries of eternity, of life, and of the marvelous structures of reality. It is enough if one merely tries to comprehend a little of this mystery every day." Now, I invite you to rise in body or spirit to sing hymn number 398, "To See the World in a Grain of Sand." And I think Ellen will play the whole thing through, because
Well, good morning. I'm Abe Gelbein, as you probably know. I'm a new member of this church. I'm a long-time Unitarian and minister's spouse. My present here is as a stand-in for my late wife, the Reverend Joan Gelbein. This morning, I'm going to share one of her sermons with you. Her words, my voice. Joan died on May 27th of this year after a long bout with dementia. At a meeting for newcomers, I mentioned to Janet that Joan left me with a substantial legacy of sermons and artworks produced over her active time in the ministry. I asked Janet what I might do with the sermons. Janet suggested I share one at a service here. And so here I am. Joan became a UU minister after a first career as an artist in the publishing industry. She served as both a settled and interim minister in churches in Kingston, New York, Wichita, Kansas, and Arlington, Virginia, between 1982 and 2003. Her settled ministry was with the Unitarian Universalist Church in Arlington, Virginia, from January 1989 to her retirement in June 2003. We moved to the Lathrop community in East Hampton about 5 years ago. The sermon I selected to share is titled, "Why Do We Need Religion?" She gave it about a month after the 9/11 attacks on the World Trade Center in New York City and the Pentagon in Washington, D.C. The church is about 3 miles from the Pentagon. Why do we need religion? Here's a simple scenario. People in a group tend to have a similar description of supernatural agents, a local doctrine of what gods or spirits are up to. The very fact that people in a group share this religious ideology and perform important rituals together sharpens their perception that they are indeed a group with clearly marked boundaries. Worshipping the same gods creates a community and by implication gives that extra edge to the feeling that people with different gods or spirits really are potential enemies. Indeed, people who become deeply involved in religion, for whom it is a matter of vital importance that their doctrine is the only source of truth, will not hesitate to massacre the ones who seem not to acknowledge this obvious fact, or whose commitment is too lukewarm. The most heinous crimes will be a celebration of the true faith. This is how gods and spirits lead to group cohesion, which leads to xenophobia, which leads to fanatical hatred. In the most diverse traditions, one can find movements entirely focused on a return to the religious values of earlier times and supposedly perverted by modern developments. Although such movements are as diverse as the contexts in which they arose, there are some common trends, and the legitimization of violence in the service or a religious restoration is one of those trends. Sound familiar? Those words I just read were from a book called Religion Explained by Pascal Boyer, published earlier in this year. That's 2001. I'm not in a good mood lately, especially not when it comes to religion. I feel kind of irritated with religion and not especially disposed to raising the question, that's my assignment for today, why do we need religion? Why indeed? To create dangerous boundaries of exclusive ideas in minds and hearts that over and over again result in conflicts and violence? I never knew that this question would have to be engaged within the prism of a new worldview created by religious extremists, hell-bent on destroying us. Why do we need religion? Not for outcomes like these. Truth to be told, there are in this congregation of liberal religionists almost as many of you who think we don't need religion as those who think we do, to one degree or another. The ones who think we don't need religion are often thinking about not needing more traditional dogmatic religion, the kinds that bind one to a particular set of beliefs. Our free thinkers who take free will seriously might object to the way this particular big question is posed. Maybe it should be a question like, what is a religion I can feel comfortable with? Or maybe simply, why is there religion at all? Let's get down to the basics. Religion starts with a question about meaning. What's true? What matters? Why is there something instead of nothing? Who am I? What should I do with my life? Why do I suffer? Why must I die? In a lighter vein, we might add this question, seen recently on a t-shirt. Suppose the hokey pokey is what it's all about. In many ways, religion is the mother of all big questions. You have a big question? You go to Mom. Mom presides over all the temples, churches, mosques, and other places of worship. The holy sites, sacred relics, religious artifacts, cave paintings, and so on, where people go to make sense of the big picture and to make sense of their living and dying. I think we, Unitarian Universalists, may be one of the very few religion in Mom's tent that starts out saying to its initiates, to question is the answer. The human realm is like an echo chamber. It's a little speck in the vastness of eternity, a valley between mountains that hide larger view. We sense something beyond the mountains, but when we call out our deepest questions, they reverberate against the opaque mountain rock and bounce back to us, changed, but essentially unanswered. Who am I? We call out, hello, is there anyone out there? we hear as an echo. In our little corner of the universe, we don't get many answers. Mostly we hear our own questions and the echoed questions of our ancestors reverberating through time. Scientifically speaking, an echo is a repetition of sounds produced by the reflection of sound waves from an obstructing surface. Spiritually speaking, when you send out your deepest questions, like sound waves going forth into the universe, the translucent walls you create in your own mind act as the obstructing surface. The same you that calls out the questions sends them right back. Hazrat Inayat Khan's poem, Why, describes this predicament. Why? What are you? I am the cry of the hungry mind. Why? What do you signify? I am the knocker on a closed door. Why? What do you represent? The owl which cannot see during the day. Why? What is your complaint? The irritation of the mind. Why? What is your life condition? I am shut up in a dark room. Why? How long will your captivity last? All night long. Why? What are you so eagerly waiting for? The daybreak. Why? You yourself are the cover over the answer you want. We only know what the soul and mind hunger for if we let ourselves be hungry long enough to feel its presence. In one of Rumi's poems, he writes, let yourself be silently drawn by the stronger pull of what you really love. We perhaps need not to stand in our own way to the heart of the matter, to feeling fully alive. Follow your bliss. As Joseph Campbell said, it will be meaning enough. This is the kind of subject, this particular question, that has been written about by all the great minds. It's something that everyone has an opinion on. I'm not at all sure I have anything to add. You can pick up 1,000,000 books. You can read a zillion sermons. There are the traditional tracts. There is the new stuff I enjoy about science and religion and the new spirituality. There's interesting stuff about God being hardwired into human brains, or human propensity for religion found by social scientists studying the counterintuitive workings of the mind. But although I personally experience religion as a repository for curiosity about life, a unique opportunity to experiment with growth in relationships and creativity in expression of celebration and service, I know that I continue to feel resistant to religion in general. But although I personally experience religion as a repository for curiosity about life, a unique opportunity to experiment with growth in relationships and creativity in expression of celebration and service, I know that I continue to feel resistant to religion in general. I think I read that twice. When I went over to the mosque on Route 7, the day they had the open house, I had a brief conversation with one of their members. I encouraged him with questions about Islam. He was happy to tell me the basic teaching, which is that there is one God and his name is Allah, and that all people must submit to him. I was, of course, very pleasant and friendly, certainly respectful, but I could feel a real shiver at my core. The thought of submission doesn't sit well with me. God for me is a concept, an abstract, or at best a poetic idea. I can handle it, but my heart isn't there. And if the idea of God becomes connected with total dominance, I could go ballistic. The thought of submission absolutely repulses me. I feel a visceral antagonism. Most gods, most religions expect something of you. Submission, maybe, that's a strong word, but certainly sacrifice and discipline to some extent. I tussle with discipline, but manage to make my peace with it. I don't do well at all when it comes to sacrifice. Obviously, I was drawn to religion. Look at who I am, where I am, and it took a lot of discipline to get there. I can only figure that I was called to ministry by my own strong desire to grow in certain ways. The things I resist are my growing edges towards health. Somehow I have to find my relationship to them, to move into the shadow, to find the light. Health might mean submitting to my higher power. I don't know. It seems to work in the 12-step programs. Sacrifice. I can't even begin to understand, and yet I know I must. The image of Jacob wrestling with the angel is more my speed. I feel combative, and yet I feel strong need to be blessed. Go figure. But somewhere in all of this is lodged that irritating question. Why do I need religion? I'm a well-educated skeptic whose relationship with religion is testy and who has a strong psycho-spiritual longing for connection with what is deeply universal. There's a new label going around, neo-agnostics. That's for people like me who, along with skepticism, have those inexplicable metaphysical feelings. We sense something important that eludes our most trusted tools of intellect and learning and causes ambivalence and longing. Unlike believers, we neo-agnostics don't have ready answers to the question of meaning. Unlike atheists, however, we are drawn to the possibility of something else. I look for answers in nature, in art, and science. Winifred Gallagher, author of a lovely little book called Working on God, says this for me. I tried to answer, or at least muffle, the question of meaning in all the obvious ways: love, achievement, stuff, therapy. The question always returned. I had dismissed religion as anachronistic wish fulfillment, half Brothers Grimm, half Hallmark, dreadful at first and limited at best, that failed to jibe with my accumulating knowledge and experience, close quote. What if religion could be about something else? What if something, after all? Why do we need religion? Spirituality or religion is a long, brave search for the truth about existence. It is a long, slow process, a patient growing into wisdom. You have to be high in growth. A particular awareness that is growing in all of us since the 1960s is interdependence with all of life. These days, we need religion to help us to discover and be in awe of the relatedness of things. Thich Nhat Hanh, the Buddhist monk, uses the word interbeing to describe the state of harmony where all of life is seen as a whole. I'd like to share with you one of his teachings I witnessed a few years ago when he was a guest at a temple in Northwest DC. He was sitting on some pillows arranged for him on a platform in the filled auditorium. He had a piece of paper in one hand and a match in the other. He asked us to imagine all of the elements that make up the piece of paper: the pulp from the tree, the soil, the water, and the sunshine that fed the tree, the glue and dye and chemicals that were used to make the paper. He explained how the piece of paper is the tree. It wasn't the tree all along. It wasn't the seed of the tree all along. It was in the soil and sunlight that nourished the tree. If you could see deeply enough into the nature of things, you could see the piece of paper in the river water that fed the roots of the tree. You could see it in the glue and dye and chemicals that were mixed with the pulp to make the paper. Is the paper soil? Is the paper a tree? Is it glue or dye? No, but without any one of these parts of the paper, stretching all the way back to the sea, the rain, the clouds, the sky, the sun, we would not have this sheet of paper. Even the person who ran the machine that mixed the pulp with the glue is in this piece of paper, and his parents and his family and his thoughts and feelings. Then Thich Nhat Hanh lit the match and held it to the paper. We watched it burn. He asked, "Where is the paper now? Where is the tree? Where is the sunlight? Where is the man? Have they become the smoke? Are they these few ashes?" We all sat quietly, thinking about what he said and what we experienced. Then he asked, "And now, where's the smoke? The air is clear. Is the smoke these clouds? Is the paper the blue sky? Is the tree the air we are breathing?" Thich Nhat Hanh's paper meditation temporarily suspended our sense of the real. Distinctions between things blurred. Duality, perception ceased, and unity consciousness, or an experience of interbeing, became the reality. Here is the same experience of interbeing from the Navajo tradition. It is a prayer or meditation to take with you on the trail or on the path. The mountains, I become part of it. The herb, the fir tree, I become part of it. The morning mists, the clouds, the gathering waters, I become part of it. The wilderness, the dewdrops, the pollen, I become part of it. I truly believe that today, this is why we need religion, to bring to us the truth of existence, an awareness of the deep interdependence, connection, and oneness of all things, and then to live our lives in congruence with that oneness. A little benediction. Take courage, friends. The way is often hard, the path is never clear, and the stakes are very high. Take courage, for deep down, there is another truth. You are not alone. Blessed be Shalom.
Thank you, Abe. I invite you now to rise in body or spirit for our final hymn, number 352, Find a Stillness. And as we weather the winds of change, may we have the wisdom to cherish the moments of stillness. May we remember the blessings of our lives. And may we have the boldness to trust that there is unimagined good yet to come. Go in peace.